So in this section, we'll need to install the Google Sign-in Flutter plugin by running flutter pub add Google Sign-in. Next, we're going to import the plugin to the onboarding google.dat. Great. Let's add the firebase options.dat to this specific file because we're going to need it. Now we're going to create a new function called sign in with Google. Inside it, we're going to define a variable. We're going to design a variable of type Google sign-in account and call it Google user, and initialize it with the Google sign-in class where the sign-in process will start, or where we'll add sign-in configuration settings for it. So let's make sure our function holds the async keyword so that you can perform an await operation. Google sign-in, and inside it we're going to specify the sign-in configuration setting, which is a client ID, and to get it we'll use the firebase options.dat file using the default firebase options.current. And since this code is supporting both the two platforms, Android and iOS, we want to make sure that we check if the current platform is iOS, get the client ID from the iOS configuration settings. And if the current platform is Android, we're going to get the client ID from default firebase options.currentplatform.android client ID. Let's proceed to call the sign-in method, which will now start the interactive sign-in process. Next thing, we'll declare a variable of type Google Sign-in Authentication and call it Google Auth. This variable will hold the authentication tokens after signing. So we need to initialize this variable by calling the method authentication from Google user, the variable that we just came from initializing. So this the new credential comes with these tokens are the OAuth2 access token and the OpenID Connect ID token. So those are the two tokens that we're talking about. So let's create a credential that we'll create using those tokens that we have received from Google Auth variable by running the Google Auth provider.credential and defining the access token, which will be Google Auth dot access token, and the ID token, which refers to the OpenID Connect ID token. Great. Now that we have our credential variable, we want to return. So let's define our function and define what type we need to return, which will be the user credential. So after signing in with Google, we want to be able to sign in to Firebase. So we'll return the information that we'll get after running Firebase dot instance dot sign in with credential. So we're signing in with the credentials that we have received from Google. And as I said, the credentials consist of two types of tokens, which is the OAuth 2 access token and the OpenID Connect ID token, the one that identifies the user. So back to our button. So on pressed, we want to call the sign in with Google function. So let's define a sync, and then we'll define a new variable called user of type user credential. Let's support our error handling. So we'll have a try and catch. And inside our try, we'll define a variable of type user credential. And name it user credential is equals to await sign in with Google, our function. So we want to create a new file called onboarding welcome .dat. We want to direct the user after successful sign-in. We want to direct them into a new screen that shows 2 or 3 information about the account, possibly the email, the display name, and a photo. So let's call our state class welcome, and inside it we're going to define, let's define a scaffold. So we'll have an app bar, a simple app bar. Let's set our title to hold a text widget. Name it onboarding. So we want once it's we've received the user credentials, we want to navigate the user to this new screen where we're welcoming the user, and it will display information about the account of this user, or the Google account that this user has logged in with. So let's do that. So in our catch section, we're just going to show an alert of the error message. So we're going to use our favorite status alert plugin, Flutter plugin. So let's install that in our application. Let's proceed to define our error using this alert dialog. We'll give our title User Authentication. Then our subtitle will be e.toString. We print out the message error, the error message. Then we're doing a icon configuration. So since it's an error, we're going to give it an icons.close, showing an X sign. That means the sign-in has failed, and give it a color red. Great. Now for user credential. So we have our upper in the welcome section. So we're going to add one action in the upper. That represents sign out. We'll get to handle that later on in the tutorial. So let's design our body. So our body will simply be, everything will be inside a center widget. So our child will be a column, and it will consist of 3 children. We'll have first we'll display the image of the profile photo. So we'll add it in a clip rect. So just call image.network, and then we set whatever will be passed as props to this state class. Photo URL. So let's pass it in our widget. So it will be widget.photo URL. And we want to handle a situation where this user does not have a photo URL. So in our case, we're saying if the widget.photo URL, which is of type string, is empty, we're going to pass a placeholder. If it's not empty, then display our image or the profile photo of this account. So our next child will be other than the photo or the profile photo, we can also display the display name of this specific Google account. and pass it to our text widget. Let's style it. And finally, let's request a prop for email address. And pass it to our text widget.email, and style it. Style. So with that, we have designed our welcome screen. So let's pass the props from our onboarding Google Authentication class. So the display name, will get it from user credential.user.display name. Then our photo URL, will get it from user credential.user.photo URL. And if it's empty, we'll just pass an empty string. Lastly, we have the email. Get it from .email. Great. So we've been able to get our user credential, and we're navigating to the welcome screen, passing it the correct information, and we're handling our error. So let's try and see it on our app. Let's try and sign in. We get an error of missing plugin. Let's just restart our application. We'll need to uncomment this line of code, and set our platform to 12. So you need to also ensure that the CocoaPods specs repository is up to date. Mine, I have to update it. Now that the app is running well, let's try and sign in. So when you click on sign in with Google, it will ask you that you want to continue. Click on continue. We can now, if you have a list of Gmail accounts, you'll view them. So we'll click on one, and we're able to sign in, and it will direct us to a new screen, welcome, showing our actual profile photo, the name, and the email address. I really hope that it was easy to understand. We have reached the end of this part on Google Authentication, and I hope you found it quite helpful and informative. If you have any further questions or need help, don't hesitate to reach out. Also, don't forget to read through the resources in the description box below and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.